As many of you know, the late 90s and early 2000s had no shortage of pop starlets, a new group or soul act breaking out aimed exclusively at a younger audience. Some managed to break through the noise and make a substantial and long career out of it, and we all know who they are. Majority didn't have that luck though, and were true flavor of the moment acts that never managed to evolve out of that teen pop mold, and as a result, faded into musical obscurity. Samantha Mumba was positioned as Ireland's very own answer to the 90s teen pop wave, and she certainly had her moment in the sun. Samantha had a familiar discovery story. She was discovered on an Irish television talent show, and shortly thereafter, she signed a record deal as well as a publishing deal. A lot of 90s teen pop stars famously had little to no involvement with the writing and production side of their music, so it's admirable that she was able to co-write majority of her material. Her debut single Gotta Tell You was released at the start of the new millennium in 2000, and it was an international success, reaching the top 5 in both the US and the UK, and topping the chart in her home country of Ireland. Gotta Tell You is a pretty standard Max Martin influenced style of teen pop, with an extremely addictive chorus. In the song, she's essentially talking about young love and having a crush. Although this single would be her only hit in the US, she would have continued success throughout Europe. Body to Body, her second single, flipped the David Bowie classic Ashes to Ashes into a pop R&B teeny bopper song. And it's certainly not the worst usage of a classic rock song by a 90s teen star. Although given the context of the original song, it is a bit odd. For those of you who don't know, the original song Ashes to Ashes is about addiction. Nonetheless, the song was a hit, and the release of her debut album Gotta Tell You would follow after the success of her first few singles. And it was ultimately a big release. Not exactly a blockbuster album, but it did very well, especially in her home country. Always Come Back to Your Love was the final major hit from the album. She toured with other teen acts such as NSYNC, and shortly after the success of her debut album, she would venture off into acting, starring in the 2002 movie The Time Machine, which did well at the box office. In 2002, she also released the lead single from what was supposed to be her second album. The song is titled I'm Right Here, and saw Samantha going in a more R&B direction. The song did well in Ireland and the UK, and although it seemed to be a song intended to target American audiences as well, it didn't gain traction in the States because it had no physical release. Samantha's second album was going to be called Woman, but due to changes of her label, Polydor Records, her album was left in limbo and was never able to be released, and she was eventually dropped from the label. She later explained that it all occurred around the time that many labels were merging. She couldn't release music, but she couldn't go to other labels either due to contractual limitations. Her entire team in A&R also got lost in the label shuffle, some even losing their jobs. While such a drastic change in a career would likely lead to sadness for a lot of stars, Samantha didn't feel that way at all. In fact, she said that she was very thankful for the break from the music industry, which is understandable. I'm sure she was working very hard, and she was only 17 when her first single was released. She bought a house, and got to enjoy the fruits of her labor and live. Once she did return to the entertainment industry, she lost her passion for music, and wasn't sure if it's something that she wanted to continue to pursue. In her own words, she said that she became hardened to the reality of the industry, and she was completely okay leaving her music career as it was with only one album. In the mid-2000s, Samantha did quite a bit of modeling, ranging from companies like Reebok to Dior, and in following years, Samantha appeared in various reality TV shows, such as MasterChef Ireland and Loose Women. She also released various standalone singles in the 2010s, her most notable single from that time period being Somebody Like Me, which hit the top 5 in her home country. It came about on an entertainment show called The Hit, where songwriters present their songs to artists, and the artists eventually land with the song they feel they can turn into a hit. She released the song independently in 2020, and teased it as a single from her second album, but nothing came of it. Samantha Mumba still continues to do live performances of her songs, and in her personal life, she's a wife and a mother. Her pop star trajectory being cut short doesn't seem to bother her at all, And honestly, this type of story is probably the best for any former 90s teen pop star to have.